Hi everyone. This is my presentation on Henry Moore, and this is based on the annotated bibliography that we did. So let's get started. All right. So Henry Moore's sculpture were based on the transformative abstractions of his works and the figuration. Like you see on the left, we can see that the Madonna and Child sculpture was supposedly established to family groups with the sculpture, obviously with the mother and child in this photo, which was a very interesting take. Into the next one. We see with this one that Henry's elements were very focused, obviously, by the texture from like rocks and stones that he found outside. Key influence for his works was the Sumerian statue, which obviously you can see the clasped hands by the statue that he's done. And his approach through abstract and representational meant to kept it feeling more symbolic than a literal thing. All right, this one. So the process and creative method of staying open, Moore for his works never stopped drawing. This is one of his sketches that he did for one of his sculptures, or a few of them, obviously. He did not like knowing, he didn't want his works having a fixed motive or a fixed theme, which is what kept his works kind of flowing and looking more alive and active. And they were very inspired by the freight. Like I said in the last slide, he would collect fragments, which he would call odd names, and he would use them to spark the form and the texture for most of his works. Next one. Viewing the experience for Moore's work, Moore believed that the sculpture is an open air art, not an indoor decoration. So obviously, with this sculpture, is very more to what Moore would have wanted. Like he wanted his sculptures outside more than like in a museum, because I mean, it obviously, because it's like a rock kind of texture, it just kind of feels like it's made to be there, you know. It also like helps it with the atmosphere and space and the scale of the sculpture that it gives off. And according to Moore, it feels more at home with it being outside than being indoors. Directing the viewer and gaze in light and space. The internal external form structure is a very good example of that, because of it penetrating carving creates a layered space while keeping that structural energy. As you can see, we can see inside of it and the outside of the structural spaces. Another good example is the Lincoln Center reclining figure of the reflective pool makes this sculpture feel calm and floating. And another one that we saw like in the beginning of this presentation, the Madonna and the Child, also is a good example of this, where the mother and child's gazes project outward in different directions, which is expanding the space for the feel. In conclusion, Moore's genius is turning sculpture into an immersive experience with body, material, nature, and the viewer, moving all together to make this feeling for his works, you know. Like he wanted to create the um the invitation of just like you're just keep looking at it rather than just trying to find the answer or the meaning for it. And I think that is very beautiful for his works. And these are the citations that I used for this PowerPoint. These are the same citations I used in my bibliography, and it's the same information I used for this PowerPoint. Thank you for watching.